If anyone has a question, I'll be happy to try and answer. You know, it's the new year, and New Year usually pretty quickly gets old as people continue with the same conditioned behavior, the same, ways of living, and present to life all the old habits, all the old patterns of the old year. And we rejoice, we celebrate with New Year's. It's in many ways a spiritual time. It's a time of renewal, and yet it is so hard to change the patterns that exist inside ourselves that we bring with it all the old patterns of the way we've been living most of our life. And, a month goes by, 2 months go by, and all of that renewal disappears, and we're living in those patterns, the same ones. And the whole purpose of this meditation, as I keep telling everyone, is to build an inner life that is strong enough to effectually change, to effectually let go of all these pieces of ourselves that keep us from truly having a spiritual life. And I think the New Year is a reminder of this. Look, you have summer, fall, winter, and spring. Nature is a consistent reminder of this. The fact that there's day and night is a consistent reminder of cycles. And yet we need to learn to listen. We need to learn to learn. We need to learn from these cycles of change. And we need to do what is really important to effectually work on ourselves and build a deeper inner life, a stronger inner life that enables us to take steps into the unknown, that enables us to listen to other people, that enables us to listen to life. And as I always say, to let life be this amazing teacher that it is. You can't learn anything from life if you think you know better than life. And if you think you know better than life, you're really in a lot of trouble, because, the energy of life is infinite in the universe. There's no limit to the knowledge, the wisdom, to what it brings to us. All it needs is for us to listen. And all we need to do to listen is to build a system inside that enables us to do it, to listen. We're strong enough not to have to defend ourselves, not to have to know better. My teacher always used to say that he'd rather be wrong than right. If you're wrong, at least you can learn something. All right, I'm wrong, teach me. What do I have to do to make up the difference? If you're right, there's absolutely nowhere to go. And I think the hardest people to spend any time around are people that are righteous, that know better than everybody else. You can't open your mouth and they instantly have an answer to tell you the right way to live. And, that's all a lot of nonsense. And it's mostly people just defending themselves because they're deeply insecure inside. So our work really is to learn, it's to grow, it's to listen. It's to allow life to be a continuous teacher. And the very nature of the way energy manifests in the world is that it's constantly changing. And if we allow life to be our teacher, then we're going to find the mobility inside ourselves to allow ourselves to grow and to change and to, really experience the newness, the freshness of what life has to offer. And I think if there's anything to go into the New Year's with, it's this. I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm not going to be right. I don't have to defend myself. I can listen, and by listening, I can learn, I can grow, I can effectually, do what is, necessary for me to build an inner life that is capable of flowing and moving with the changes that take place all around me. I think, to me, this is something worth taking into the new year. Because the new year becomes the old year very quickly if we don't do anything about ourselves. If we don't change inside, if we don't learn to listen, if we don't learn to respect and open to the greatest teacher of all, which is life. That's the real guru, not Stuart. I'm not the real guru. My job is just to train you so you can sit in front of the real guru, which is life. Does anyone have a question they would like to ask?
I can try to ask you one question.
Go right ahead, I'm listening.
You know, sometimes you have very strong energy, and sometimes it's difficult to take and work with that. And it was with my older son. He couldn't take it because he didn't work so much like me and Skander and Astrid. And I will ask you what we should do in that case when it gets very hard.
Just love him, you know, he's different. Maybe his need isn't right now for what I do. That's all right. I mean, look, you know, when I first took this apartment here where I'm living, I did it for a singular purpose, was to help my daughter. You know, she was a little bit adrift in her life. She really had nothing steady. And I thought that what was going to really help her was for her to learn this meditation that I teach. And about 3 months into doing this, I realized, Stuart, no, this is not what's going to help her. What's going to help her is you listening to what she really needs and supporting her where she is at in her life. Not where I want her to be in her life, but where she's at. And when I started doing that, everything changed. And now it's pretty amazing how far she's come. It's really amazing how far she has come to evolve and grow in her life. The things she's doing now are exactly the things she has to do. And it's not meditation. Her need for spiritual life is not real yet. I think eventually it will come. But right now it's to get a job, to have a boyfriend, to eventually get married, to have children. That's her need. And who am I to tell her, you know, yeah, you can do that and have a spiritual life? No, she has to find this out for herself. And my job is to just love her unconditionally. And I think that's what you have to do with your children. Love them unconditionally and let them find their way. Let them find their way through life.
I think I did that all the time, all their life. But with older son, and I wait, and now
well, just let them, you know, don't have expectations in your head about the way you think they're supposed to live, because they're never going to fulfill it. Just love them as they are and let them be. Let them find their path. Sometimes it takes lifetimes to find one's path. Sometimes it takes a day, a minute, you know? Somebody, you know, honestly, somebody sent me an email a few days ago. I mean, this was really something, you know, who told me that they went on Amazon, they found a book I wrote called Lotus Flower in Muddy Waters. And they wrote me an email saying that this book has become, you know, the most precious book that they own. You know, I mean, when people are ready, they will find. It comes to them. And now she's signed up to be in these classes. And she lives half a world away from me. Who would ever have met her if it wasn't for Zoom? So when people are ready, they will come. They will find it. And I respect that, because I am not here to tell anybody how they should live their life. I am here to respect life and what life teaches them. And the best thing you can do for your children is just love them. Love them. They're not going to grow up the way you think they're supposed to grow up. They won't.
It's difficult when I see that he has difficult time, and it's many years now. I love him, but I have it hurts me to see.
I know it's difficult. You know, look, he sent me an email and mentioned 3 or 4 things in there that he is stuck in, which problems he has. And I told him, I wrote him back saying, have patience, you'll get past it. But I can't force him to come here. You understand? He has to come. There's another person who came here for a couple of classes who really has a lot of problems. And I told him that. I said, you got to take the time to do it. The time it really works. But I can't force people to do this. I can't walk around with a whip and make people do what I do. I know it works. And I know it works because where I came at it and the way I was like when I was younger. But I can't force people to do it. Even when I really was crazy when I was a kid. I had, all this stuff, I had it all. But I had one thing that I really had when I was in my early 20s, was a need for spiritual life. That was so profound inside me that when he found a person who could teach it to me, then I was willing to live whatever I had to go through, and it wasn't easy. I was willing to listen to him because I knew that I needed to learn how to have a spiritual life. But, that's not everybody's karma.
He is spiritual. He is, but he works by himself. He has to have a help.
Well, then he must need a different path than what goes on here. Or maybe he will come. I don't know. Let's give him time. Let's just love him and give him time. You have found this. Skenda has found this. You introduced him to it. And maybe at some point, something will go click inside him and he'll come and do this. I know this work can help him enormously, but I can't force people to do it. They have to come when they're ready. I mean, I once had a student years ago, when I was living in Texas, who told me, he came down to visit me and he spent a week at the ashram that I was running. And he was having a lot of trouble with his teachers, his spiritual teachers, where he was living. And I'll never forget this. I said to him, look, I'm not running a refugee camp for wounded yogis here. Work out your life with your other teachers. And when you work out your life with them, give me a call. You're welcome. So he gave me a call about 3 days after he left. And he says, I need to study with you. I'm going to come down and I'm going to stand at your door until you let me into your house. I'll sleep on the door. He told me this. And a couple of days later, I look at him and he's standing there. This person had a need. You understand? What am I going to do? Not let him come into the house? That's the kind of need you need to have a spiritual life. I had another student who was living in the jungles of Guatemala. This is a true story. And he had a tent, and the one thing he had was a book that my teacher Rudy wrote. And he's reading this book, and then, he was living in this tent, and somebody showed up and stayed with him for a few days in the jungles of Guatemala in Central America. And was reading this book that my teacher wrote, and he gave this person the book. The person started reading it, and he said, this is exactly what I'm looking for. And he went back to Texas, and he called me and found out that I was in Denton, Texas. He gave me a call. 2 days later, he showed up. He was standing there with a beard this long. He hadn't bathed in 2 weeks or 3 months. And,
Wow.
He had raggedy clothing on, but he came. So I looked at him and I started to laugh. I said, yeah, go take a shower, take a shave, get yourself together, get some clothing on. And, and he wound up studying with me for 5 years. There's now somewhere in the world a kid named Stuart, who's probably 40 years old now, who's named after me, who I haven't seen since I left Texas, Okay. So what I'm saying is you never know when people are ready. They will, when they're ready, you can't stop them from doing it. Can't. Rudy couldn't stop me from doing it. He couldn't, because I knew what I needed, and I knew what I had to learn, and I also knew how crazy I was, and if I didn't learn this, I couldn't imagine where my life would have gone. So when your children are ready, they will come. I mean it. Something will snap in them. You have introduced them to this. Let them find it. Let them find it in themselves.
Difficult to be mother.
The hardest job on the earth, Laura. The hardest job on the earth. Much harder than my job. The hardest job on the earth is to be a mother, really. I mean, God bless my mother, what she had to put up with me. I mean, really. I mean, I remember Rudy, he told me once, he said, you know, I couldn't pay a therapist. I couldn't pay a therapist $1,000 an hour to teach me what I have to do. Well, my mother instantly teaches me about what I have to do with myself to grow. He said, I couldn't pay a therapist $1,000 an hour. Every time I'm around her, it's always something that she, oh, I could feel fantastic. She will point out the exact thing that's wrong with me. So, you know, that relationship between parents and children is essential because it exists, because when you begin to use it intelligently, it really makes you grow because you have to do it unconditionally. Unconditionally. I always tell people, and Rudy said the same thing, you got to love your parents unconditionally. You have your parents and your children, all the rest of it, okay, there's divorce, there's this, there's that, you can break up and relationships change. But the two places that you cannot walk away from are your parents and your children.
It's 2:00.
And both those situations will truly make you grow as a human being because they have to be approached unconditionally. You got to love people for who they are and what they are, not for what you want them to be and you think they should be.
It's a little bit not all clear for me because I love my son. I think he is beautiful. He's a very good soul.
And give him time. Your son has to learn to love himself.
Yes.
Give him time. He will learn. He will learn.
But sometimes when he's angry or something, then I can feel very negative energy from him.
Oh, yeah, I trust me. I have it from my daughter. She gets into her condition. I just sit there and look at her, and I just keep my mouth shut, and I let her do what she. And then 10 minutes later, oh, Daddy, I'm sorry.
Yes.
You know, so just have patience. They change. They grow. They find themselves. You know. Does anyone else have a question who'd like to ask?
Stuart, do you feel to share any words about conversing with dead people?
Well, I think if you learn how to really converse with live people, you'll have no trouble conversing with the souls of the dead, you know? The hardest job is conversing with people that are alive every day, that you have to deal with every day. And then the souls of the dead, they come, they nurture you, they guide you, and you listen to them. You don't have to converse with them, you just listen to them. They have so much wisdom and knowledge to give us that we just have to listen. We have to learn to listen. And that's the best way of conversing. Listen, I hear ancient souls that come to me. And when they first started coming, I would get into dialogue. Then I shut up and I said, just listen to them, Stuart. Let them, they have so much wisdom to impart. They have so much to give us. I mean, I remember once somebody channeled Rudy to me, and it was extraordinary. I had a great psychic person who lived in South America channeled Rudy, and unbelievable, the things he told me, unbelievable. You know, unbelievable. Changed my life. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, if there are no more questions, then Happy New Year to everybody, and God bless you all. And there'll be a class on Tuesday, same time, and I'm looking forward to seeing everybody. And just thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this with all of you. Bless you. It's just the greatest honor I could imagine in my life, just to sit here and do this with everybody. So bless you all. I will see everybody hopefully on Tuesday. Have a great New Year's. And
thank you, Stuart.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you, and Happy New Year too. Thank you so much.